It's Brandon Lewis, your conservative cowboy commentator, here at the Tennessee Conservative News, bringing you these hot little headlines. Judicial panel rules against the goofy Tennessee laws that say you can't carry a gun with the intent to go armed, which is like saying you can't put on your shoes with an intent to run, and that you can't carry them in parks. I'll tell you my bear story as to why they need to get rid of this. Rutherford County Commissioner calls ICE a terrorist organization during a public meeting. That's always real classy. Tennessee National Guard anticipated to begin Nashville ICE in November. Knox County passes resolution supporting continued ICE cooperation. Juvenile court magistrate fired for defending the constitutional rights of kids and parents is suing for punitive damages. And Trump congratulates Cracker Barrel on trying to wipe the poo that is on their shoe off after publicly embarrassing themselves and doing something quite liberal and illogical. Brandon Lewis with the 10-Con Big 7 here. This is where we bring you the biggest stories in Tennessee news in a condensed format with a little bit of entertainment and chagrin, because if you can't laugh at yourself, you'll only cry. Guys, do go text us news to 423-205-5600. That's 423-205-5600. Get on that e-newsletter. If you're not on it, you're missing out. And you can follow us on the Intertube, X, Truth, Getter, Gab, Rumble, MeWe. Facebook shows us a little bit, but we've been stuck in the same place for 5 years because the big tech overlords do not want the info getting out there. And finally, if you're running for office and you're clueless, and rest assured you likely are, and you need help winning an election. I've worked on 14 different federal, state, local, and legislative efforts, all of which have been successful as a campaign coach or consultant, and authored the book, How to Raise Money for Political Office. I'm getting back in the game in a very limited capacity with a select number of clients. You can email me support@conservativecandidatesacademy.com. That's support@conservativecandidatesacademy.com. If you cannot spell conservative candidates or academy, do not run for office. And we've got a fundamental, wonderful, cheap little workshop that you can take for $4,700. $4,700. Wait a minute, for a limited time. $47. And it'll run you through the basics of campaigning. And at the end, there's a little diagnostic you can complete if you would like to talk with yours truly. And so if you'll send me an email, I'll send you information on that, and you can act as you will. Judicial panel rules against Tennessee's going armed law, which makes no sense at all. A 3-judge panel has ruled that Tennessee laws against the intent to go armed and carrying weapons in state parks are unconstitutional, which is what the Tennessee Firearms Association and other gun advocate groups have been screaming for 5 years. And our legislature is just so out of alignment. It's like the GOP primary voters over here, the Democrats are over here, and the GOP leadership's always like just a little bit to the right, but nowhere near the base. The Gibson County Chancery Court, a panel ruled in favor of plaintiffs, including Gun Owners of America and Gun Owners Foundation, with several individuals. Despite the ruling, the panel stopped short of ordering the state to quit enforcing the laws. What's the point of that? I don't really understand. The group filed suit against Bill Lee, who's not a Second Amendment advocate, who had the red flag gun laws. It's like some trans person shoots up a Christian school, and Bill Lee's solution is to take away gun rights. Now, how about we figure out what's causing this insanity in this community and the trends, and how about we do something about that bill instead? No, you got to take away rights from law-abiding citizens, because that's really what fixes crazy criminals that think they're men or women and men that are on God knows how much psychological affecting medication, plus are being fed a steady diet of poison from both the medical and the psychological community. Hey, Bill, that's the problem, unless you haven't noticed the trend. But nonetheless, I digress. Claiming their rights to carry weapons were violated in the state's provisions against carrying a firearm with the intent to go armed and blocking weapons in state parks. So the statute of intent to go armed basically makes all of Tennessee illegal. Like, that just needs to be stricken. Like, it's confusing language. It doesn't make any sense. We don't need things in the TCA code that conflict with each other. That's common sense, right? If you got a manual on how to operate a TV, and one part of the manual says press the red button to turn it on, and another part of it says press the green button to turn it on, like, that needs to be clarified, right? Very simple. I'll tell you my story about why I think you should have guns in parks. And I think you should have them for self-defense, but I think you should have them primarily just because it's what the Constitution says you can do, right? The whole reason our founders at both the state level and the federal level put the Second Amendment provisions in there is because if we should have to rise up as civilians and overthrow our government again, as they did in 1776, they wanted us to have the mechanism by which to do it. And they wanted to make sure that forever and always our politicians knew that if it ever turned to violence, they probably have bigger guns, but we have more. And we've seen historically it from the Battle of Spain and the Napoleonic Wars all the way down to what happened in Vietnam, that when the people of a country aren't for you, it's very hard to rule them. And in a country as big as ours, virtually impossible. You might be able to lock down the cities, but your troops won't be able to go anywhere outside without being harassed and harried. And I think that's what the founders of our country looked at and said, hey, this is how we won the War of Independence in America, in the woods and in the hills and in the hollers and through wars of attrition until the greatest power on earth, Great Britain, who ruled the seas, couldn't rule our country. That's why it's here. So that's the fundamental reason. But then here is my personal experience. I was camping at a campsite that shall remain nameless, and there's this bear in our campsite. And I honk the horn, I bang pans, I do all the bear things, right, to run the bear off. This bear doesn't give a rip. It has been conditioned to eat food, steal things out of campsites, and it looks like it's almost like maybe sick or something, but it's big. And he's roaming through the campsite, and it's dusk. And there are all these little kids, right? And they've got this much protection. I was luckily in a teardrop between them and whatever else. So finally, I'm like, well, I'm just going to do the best I can. I'm illegally carrying a firearm here in a park, and I'll tell you why here in a second, not just for instances like this. But I get up close, as close as I think is safe, and I fire off a round, and the bear scurries away. You know, the device that got him out of the campsite was the device that I was not supposed to have. Secondly, I wake up in the middle of the night, and this thing, I'm going to pee in the dark, and I look like 5 feet away from me, and there's these green eyes, and he's like in my campsite. And finally, I'm like, I got to run this thing off. I don't want my wife, who's going to have to get out and use the bathroom here shortly of the camper, to get eaten, because we're in a little teardrop. There's no place to use the bathroom. And so the bear ran away. Okay? There's no place that I feel more comfortable having a firearm with me, beside me, is when you're camping out in the middle of the woods by yourself, which I do sometimes, and you have no defense if 3 or 4 people came up with breaking the law, right? And typically people that are going to harm you anywhere, they don't follow the law. If they're going to physically abuse you, assault you, or kill you, or steal from you, like, they've already decided they don't much care about the law, right? So this whole issue with guns in parks is just ridiculous. It needs to be done away with. It's an election year. Closed circuit transmission to those of you who want to score some points, who have heretofore not done your constitutional duty in the legislature. This would be a good one to run with. It would be very popular. And the only pushback you'd get is from the Democrats and the liberal media, which frankly is enough to keep a lot of conservatives from doing what they need to do. Next story. Rutherford County Commissioner calls ICE a terrorist organization during public meetings. During a meeting of the Rutherford County Commission's Public Safety earlier this week, a liberal commissioner referred to ICE as a terrorist organization, discussing the county's participation in a federal 287G program for jail enforcement, which means if you end up in jail and you're an illegal alien, we're going to get you out of here with ICE's help and get you off the state dole and put you on the federal dole. Okay, very simple. And this lady, Hope Oliver, I hope she's got more than 2 brain cells to rub together. I don't know that she does. Said that a lot of citizens had valid concerns and they could look at the media and see what's going on. And the chair, Mr. Pettis, reminded Oliver that ICE has been in the county for a long time, which prompted Oliver to remark, absolutely, ICE has been here. ICE has been an organization that's around for a long time, but it has not emboldened a terrorist organization like it's turning out to be. So what does Miss Oliver think an organization that is a terrorist is? Like, if the organization exists but it does not enforce the law, or if it enforces the law subjectively based upon her liberal ideology, it's okay if they're here as long as they're not doing their job. But the moment they start doing the job and treating every U.S. citizen equally according to the letter of the law, that makes you a terrorist? No. Law being equally applied to every citizen is what keeps us from being a banana republic, Miss Oliver. I swear these people have never picked up a history book. They've never looked at the migratory patterns. They've never looked at what happened in Western Europe. It's like these people are in an ideological tribal vacuum that has no room for rhyme or reason or practical problem solving. It's just all, how do I feel? What are my emotions saying today? County Mayor Joe Carr. Now listen, Joe, if we're going to talk the talk, we need to walk the walk in the county. I think you could help ICE probably more than you're helping them now. Most local officials could. So what I find particularly abhorrent, this is Joe Carr, and I call on the county commission to publicly rebuke Commissioner Hope Oliver. And I understand she has a very progressive liberal view of the world, and I understand she probably embraces a no borders policy. I get that. And if that's what she wants to believe, fine, and I'm assuming that the lady does. But what she doesn't have a right to do is label ICE as a terrorist organization, because if she wants to know what a terrorist organization is, she can go to the Secretary of State's website. Now, I guarantee you, Hope, I'll make a challenge to you. I'll let you take me up on it. You got a big heart, right, for illegal aliens. If I can find 3 illegal aliens that want to live in your house for 6 months at your expense, and I bring them to you, will you house, clothe, feed, and be responsible for them? Are you doing it now on your personal free time? Probably not. Liberals always have a big heart for problems they never have to solve and they never encounter or feel. And they have itty-bitty tiny Grinch hearts for the native people they represent, and the kids, and the folks that are repeatedly raped, molested, trafficked. We run the stories every week here at the Tennessee Conservative. Drives me nuts. Compassion. What good is compassion if it's not effective? What good is compassion if it's misplaced? What good is it for you to ignore your own children and everybody in your family and treat them like garbage, or put them in situations that are unsafe, yet to go do something symbolically nice for the kid next door, but not really nice? That's how liberal compassion works. Tennessee National Guard anticipated to be assisting ICE in September. In September 1, Nashville can expect to see National Guardsmen arriving to provide administrative support roles for Homeland Security. Based on the document date, July 30th, the 181st Field Artillery Regiment out of Chattanooga will deploy to the Nashville DHS facility to help with case management, logistical support, clerical, etc. And I think it's a great idea. If we can get some of the guards people shuffling the papers and doing all that junk and doing administrative stuff, that should free up ICE officials to go do more field work. And field work is where it all happens. Next story, Knox County passes resolution supporting continued ICE cooperation. Knox County Commissioners passed a resolution on Monday showing the support for the county's participation in ICE. It's been enrolled in this program for over 5 years. According to Knox County records, they lost approximately $128,000 between January and May of this year as a result of the partnership with ICE. But County Sheriff Tom Spangler recently defended the department's decision to continue with ICE, saying that it wasn't any different from their state inmates. Spangler said, "We don't make any money off our state inmates because they pay us $41 or $49 a day. Feds pay us $114. Anytime that our state inmates are there, and they're there for long periods of time, where our ICE inmates are in for 2 or 3 days, it's a revolving door. They're in and out." So basically, he's saying that when the state prisoners come in, that the state of Tennessee is responsible for, they let them linger. But when somebody comes in and we're in this ICE program, they may be there for a few days, but then they're gone. These are the things that make sense. Of this article publication, there are 2 state agencies and 20 counties across the state participating in enforcement programs. I would love to see the legislature. If you're out there, again, it's an election year. If you're out there and you want to score some political points heading into election, pass some kind of state law that says, hey, every county jail has to be enrolled in ICE. Every city jail has to be enrolled in this. If you did that, we would have basically about 150 fly traps all over the state of Tennessee. And when people break laws, which are the ones we need to get rid of first, right? When they break laws and they end up in the pokey, if they're here illegally, they're out. That would be so fundamentally helpful. Guys, we are, I think, 3 or 4% behind despite our annual fundraiser. It's just been tough all over for conservative groups. There's a lot of Trump complacency syndrome out there. You've heard of Trump derangement syndrome, but Trump complacency syndrome is where Republicans think because Donald Trump's in office that their state and local government's going to somehow improve, and it ain't going to do it. Now's the time to strike while the iron's hot. Now's the time to keep your pedal to the metal. You don't get many opportunities like this when sentiment is trending conservative. It's almost always trending liberal. So when we see these things happen and we've got opportunities, we need to double down, not half our efforts. So please do go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com/support if you give $50 or more. If you give a recurring donation, which is so helpful. And you may think, okay, $10 a month, it's not going to make any difference. $5 a month, $25 a month, it's not going to make a difference. It ain't going to make any difference to you in your budget. Like, you're not going to be impoverished by it. But what it does for us is if we've got 100 people doing $25, it's like, okay, we got $2,500 a month come in. We know we can pay for this many articles. It's hard to run a budget for a conservative publication not knowing if the money's going to be there every month, which is basically where we exist. We get these ebbs and flows of cash, and there's never any left over. I've not taken a paycheck. I'm still $170,000 in the hole. Okay? So if I can do this for free, you can come off $5 or $10. And if you don't, you wonder why is there only one conservative media outlet in Tennessee that will not lie to us if someone in a campaign gives them $1,000 for a campaign ad, and their editorial content will remain true to what GOP primary voters want. It's all finances. It's all finances. And these dummies, and I've seen them in leadership all the time, that say, hey, he's just doing it for the money. I'm like, here's somebody that has no business sense. If there was money to be had doing this, there would be 50 of us in Tennessee and not one that struggles by. But logic, reason, and telling the truth is not the stock and trade of politicians. It's smoke screens, lies, and misinformation. Next story, juvenile court magistrate fired for defending constitutional rights. Here's the basic essence of this story. Juvenile court judge Timothy Irwin, along with Robin Gunn, alleges that Judge Timothy Irwin, along with Family Service Supervisor Stacey Turpin, violated parental rights to counsel detained parents' due process and allowed law enforcement to exert improper ex parte influence over judicial decisions at the expense of parents' constitutional rights. Basically, there were a bunch of unwritten guidelines that these bureaucrats were using. They were accused of intentionally waiting until in-person preliminary hearings before notifying parents of the right to be represented by counsel. You need to let people they can be represented by counsel from day one. And the reason they probably don't want people to go get counsel is because it makes their job harder to just railroad folks and to not give due process. This happens all the time. We got juvenile court activists like Rob Phil in Chattanooga sending letters to the legislature saying that parents shouldn't have homeschool rights to educate their kids how they see fit, even though 14 other states have the law. And we got a lot of judicial activists out there. Gunn also accused Irwin and Turpin of not giving attorneys access to information like the results from a drug test and other critical information they needed. And so she's suing for punitive damages, so on and so forth. So I love it when somebody has the you-know-whats working in government to say, this is not right. I'm going to stand up against this, and if I lose my job, I'll lose my job. I ran into a fellow like that just the other day in Nutrition World, and who had to do what was right and had to pay a price for it. It happens. But I think it makes you of sterner stuff, and I think it points you in a better direction for your life, and ultimately it works out for the good. Because if you don't have your integrity, what do you got? Next story. Trump congratulates Tennessee Cracker Barrel on getting rid of new logo. So Trump tweeted, WTF is wrong with Cracker Barrel. Very presidential. But I love it. Trump said in a quote on X, and of course, their shares dropped by 12%. There's tons of consumer backlash. Like, it's just been a debacle. You could not have, if they spent every dollar they had at Cracker Barrel, they probably could not have purchased the same volume of negative press if they had tried to purchase negative press for their brand. Say Cracker Barrel should go back to the old logo, admit you made a mistake on a customer response. Now here's a good formula. Go back to the old logo, admit you made a mistake, and manage the company better than ever before. This would be a good rule for all the politicians that pushed all the COVID nonsense that harmed so many Tennesseans. Go back to your oath of office. This is advice from your president. Admit you made a mistake. That part has never happened. The first two haven't. And then manage the company better than ever before. In this case, it'd be manage the government better than ever before. That does not mean, Bill Lee, grow the government more than ever before. They've got $1 billion worth of free publicity. If they played their cards right, very tricky too, but a great opportunity. Is tricky. Well, the thing they need to do, in my opinion, is I would, if it were me, if I were Cracker Barrel, of course, nobody's going to listen to this or take my advice. This message won't even get to executives. I would fire the progressive CEO. I would try to bring back one of the founders, maybe, or somebody that has deep traditional country roots, who understands what it's like to live in rural America, who has lived in rural America. And here's an important part. Isn't embarrassed of, doesn't despise or hate rural America, which the CEO of Cracker Barrel, by all intents, and I mean, who wants to take a brand that is known for a distinct, specific menu, ambiance, etc., that is unique in all of restaurants as chains go? Maybe there's another one I'm not aware of. You have some little mom and pops that are like this, but really to create this effect, get somebody that like embraces that and double down on it. It's what people like about it anyways, that it's different. It's why it's successful all over the nation, even though it's way outside of Appalachia. Because people enjoy going into a place that has a different culture, just like when you go into a Mexican restaurant, an Italian restaurant, whatever it is, the ambiance, the culture, the food is different. We have traditional Southern cuisine, and people like it when they're on the road. So embrace it. That's what I'd do. I'd make a show of sacrificing the CEO, apologizing to people, and say, we're going to double down. I just don't see why you would leave that tradition that is so unique as a marketing position, as an old marketer myself, to be another generic, vanilla, sterile box that you go in and get fast casual food. Doesn't make any sense to me, and apparently it doesn't make sense to anybody else or the customers, or this wouldn't have happened. Guys, thank you for hanging out here with me. I've enjoyed this cool weather coming in. I had to put on a jacket the other evening. It's cool up here, a little light jacket. So I'm enjoying, looking forward to fall. My schedule just gets hectic and at times nightmarish during the winter and the fall. But it's when I make my living in my other business that pays the bills, and it's when the legislature gets together. So I guess if you're going to suffer, just cram it all into 4 months and be done with it. What else? What's going on this weekend? I know that's what y'all are really worried about. So tonight, I've got Ruby Dooby. The girls are going somewhere. I don't even remember where. Sometimes I'm not a very good listener. Just ask my wife. They're going somewhere, and I've got Ruby. So we're going to go to the gym. She's going to play around in there while I work out. And then we're going to go eat somewhere, just her and I on a little mini date. And we've got 2 chocolate donuts with sprinkles that are hiding in my cabinet. I've got some cabinet space in the kitchen that's just mine. And it's half empty, which is fine. If I ever need to put stuff in there, it's there. But I've got everything that I need, which ain't much. And there are 2 donuts sitting in there. So we're going to eat those for dessert tonight. Tomorrow is Saturday. I've got to go do something that I dislike, is a little bit of shopping for clothes. 2 or 3 times a year, I go in there. I'm like, I'll take this, I'll take that. This looks good, this looks good. And I try to get some stuff, and I just leave. Like I'm on a purchasing marathon. That's how most men probably are. So I got to get some clothes because I'm going to San Antonio for 2 separate conferences, one of mine and one related to the the painting industry. So I got to go to San Antonio. So I'm going to get some duds to go down there, go work out. We're going to be at church Saturday night. And then Sunday, we've got a poo party. Poo. That's how you pronounce pool in South Georgia. I had a fraternity brother, and so he never put an L on the end of poo or skoo, and just no L, right? So we're going to go to the poo at some friend's house on Sunday afternoon. And then Monday, I'm doing something I have not done in forever. I think I was 9 years old the last time I went hunting, and I just shot a deer that was processed inside Uncle Amos's farm. It was out in the field, right? And we ate it, and I watched him process it, and that's the last time I think I've shot anything that was living. So I'm going dove hunting with a good friend of mine, Eric, on Labor Day, so that should be a hoot. And then I got to get back at it. I got a lot to do in a short period of time, and some additional leisure travel. So it's going to be a busy month for old BL. Guys, in closing, if you know of anybody that's running for office, seriously, support at conservativecandidatesacademy.com. I hate watching good conservatives lose just out of arrogance and ignorance in most cases. Now, there are some people that should never run for office. They ain't got the money. They ain't got the time. They can't raise the money. They don't connect with people. They want to think a lot and talk a lot and go to every pancake supper and every, Republican club meeting and think that that's going to win an election when only, 0.025% of the electorate's there. You can't just see the same 0.025 of the electorate. You got to take your message to the electorate through a variety of ways in a highly compressed sales, marketing, and operations apparatus that's virtually impossible to know how to do unless you've done it, and it is certainly impossible to do well unless you have done it over and over again with success. And so if you know of anybody that's running, don't let them go out there and just get beat like a drum. It's embarrassing. It's publicly embarrassing when you go through that. And so if you're going to run, you should at least run to be competitive, and you should run to win, or you shouldn't run at all. That's all I got, guys. It's old BL here with the 10Con Big 7 saying, I hope you have a great Labor Day and have fun, be safe, but more importantly, be free. Take care, guys. Love you, mean it. See you next time.